Hello and welcome to Talking Balls, the show where football fans have their say. Today we're joined by Joel, an Arsenal fan, to talk about the North London derby, and also John, a Man City fan, back again. We're going to be talking about City winning again. It gets boring, but it's what they do, unfortunately, for the rest of the Premier League. So without further ado, I'll bring both onto the stage. We're going to change it up a little bit tonight and have a range of topics to discuss. But first off, let's get you guys on stage. Hello there, chaps. How are you doing?
Hello again.
Awesome stuff. Awesome. Let's kick off. I've got a bit of a slide deck prepared today. Won't be death by PowerPoint, but I think it will keep us on track with the amount of topics we want to get through. So we'll start off with Joel. You're a happy Arsenal fan. London is red.
Yeah, I'm feeling quite smug, but when City's breathing down your necks every single week, then it's kind of hard to really enjoy any sort of win, really. But I think yesterday really showed how far we've come since last season and the season before that as well. But yeah, there's still plenty to talk about in regards to how we actually performed, because I wasn't that happy with it. But yeah, I mean, as long as we win, as long as we get 3 points, that's all that matters, really.
You were happy with the first half, I'm assuming, not so much with the second.
I wasn't happy with over the whole 90 minutes because we didn't control hardly any of the game. To be fair, Spurs had a lot of possession. I think the one thing that saved us is that we're so organised out of possession. We're so narrow. If you watch the game, then we forced Spurs out so much along the sides. But in terms of, we were so sloppy. Trossard in particular losing the ball in the first third so many times. Just looked shaky. Partey just thought he had all the time in the world. But obviously the difference is that we was good in both boxes, and that's obviously what wins the game. So yeah, I mean, I'm happy obviously, but there's things definitely to work on 100%.
I mean, I've got to talk about the goalkeeper there. What was he thinking?
It's arrogant. I think it's arrogance. Because Son missed a chance and he's laughing and smiling. And I'm thinking, the job's not done. It's a derby, you're away from home. And then he sort of leant back and played a silly pass. I mean, loads of keepers do it, trying to play through the two attackers. That's fine, but there was no zip on the pass, anything. It was poor. It's poor. It just changed the whole tone for the game, and it's really disappointing. But he played well after that, to be fair. Come to collect a lot of crosses. Just looked a bit more calm afterwards. So yeah, it's could have done better, but he stabilised. That's the main thing.
Yeah, obviously, I know you've got a few games to play, and you just need City to draw. If you win the rest of yours, the goal difference, I think you're about 7 goals ahead, something like that.
Yeah,
so you've still got...
They'll catch us on goal difference. I really think they will. Yeah, it's only what, is it 7 or is it 9 now? I mean, it'll be tight. It will be tight.
It's one of the most exciting run-ins, I must say, as a Premier League we've had in a while. Now Liverpool have completely dropped off a cliff, but we'll talk about them in a bit. So yeah, West Ham done you a favour there.
Yeah, cheers. that was down to them. That was well. I don't know what's going on in the Liverpool camp at the moment. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's gonna be mental. Now looking at Tottenham's running, obviously I know they've still got City to play. And I'm going to mention them only because they've got Chelsea away, Liverpool away, Burnley at home until they've got City. So by that point, they could just be completely out of the race altogether anyway. If it comes down to they're out of Europe, they've got nothing to play for, they're playing City, are they going to give it 100%?
I'd hope so. If you're professional, then surely you would. But I've seen some of the stuff on social media about Spurs fans saying they wouldn't mind if Spurs lost or they want them to lose against City. It just shows the mentality of the club at the end of the day. Because why in the hell would you want your club to lose, especially on the last day? Are they at home as well, or are they away?
Spurs are at home to City.
Yeah, and the final day of the season at home, and you don't care about winning or losing.
Yeah, they've got one more game. I think they've got Man City. No, there's one more game after that. I think it's West Ham, actually, isn't it?
Yeah, so we've got Wolves this Saturday. We've got Fulham away. Tottenham is the game in hand, but at Tottenham, and then the final game is West Ham at home.
We won't do you any favours.
Cheers, Mark.
We'll just
I
roll
think
over
Fulham will
anyway.
be tricky, you know. I think Fulham will be a tricky one for them as well. They're decent at home. Might have beat us at home anyway. So yeah, no, it could be interesting. Could be interesting. We hope. We pray.
Yeah, it's going to be. I'll say it's going to be a really interesting running. And I guess going into with if you don't win it this season, is the difference not having that really top quality striker? I know you've got goals from everywhere, Arsenal.
I think it's a combination of things. I think Timber was a massive miss. He's going to feel like a new signing in the new season, but I reckon if we had him, we'd have an even better chance. I was speaking to my friend about this yesterday, looking at some of the positions that Tomiyasu taken up. He's brilliant out of possession, but in possession, some of the places where he picks up the ball, if he could just move, change the direction a little bit better, a bit more attacking minded, then we would have had more control in the game. And I think that's what we've lacked massively. Like teams constantly try and hit us on that side where Zini is or where Kirior is. I think if we had Timber, I think things would change. I think we'll be a lot better. In terms of the striker, I'm not sure because Havertz does so much for us. In and out of possession, the yards he covers, the physicality, the flick-ons. Now we're starting to get a bit of a goal-scoring touch, assist. There's so much that it can do for our game. So, how many strikers has that all-round sort of element to their game? So yeah, I think there's so many. There's little intricate things that if you look at Arsenal where we could be so much better. Because I don't think we should be getting dominated by that Spurs side, to be honest. But yeah, who knows?
I think Havertz had a bit of an indifferent game yesterday because I think he did fluff his lines on a few occasions. I was sat with an Arsenal fan watching it, to be honest. Lewis, actually, I was sat with Lewis watching that game, and I always rib him anyway about Havertz. But it's always the way. I was taking the piss out of him, and then bang, he pops up with a goal. So always just to shut me up. But he's one of those, isn't he? He's like a Nunes for me. They should score a lot more than they do.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think with Havertz, sometimes he doesn't look aesthetically pleasing on the ball, and the way that he throws himself about. But in terms of the impact on the game, it's huge. I'm glad that a lot of Arsenal fans are starting to see the light with him. I think obviously it's one of them ones. It could have went either way, but I think he's come along really well, and it really shows the mentality for him that he can go through all the scrutiny and he can come through and then at the end of the season be vital. I don't want him dropped at any point. I don't want him not in the team, to be honest. He's been really good now.
Yeah. What does that say then for Jesus? Has he got a place?
He's a winger. He's not a striker.
But
he's not. I think
he's not playing, is he?
No, and fair play to Trossard as well. He's coming in and he's earned his spot and he's kept it, and that's what you want. That's the difference between us and a lot of teams in City. City have got players that they can bring in and they all compete. The rotations are good, so a lot of the players are fresh when they're coming to the side. That's something that we want, and if that means that players like Jesus have to stay on the bench for a little bit, then as a fan, then that's fine by me.
Just whether it's fine by Jesus.
Yeah, that's it. It's unfortunate, man, but it's part of the game. It's football. It happens.
It's a tough one, John. From your point of view, obviously he moved from City. Did he make that move because he wanted regular first team football?
Probably. I also think it was the club as well. I think Jesus has got a lot of skill. He's got a lot of talent there, but is he the complete centre forward package? No, I agree with Joel. He is more of an outside player cutting in. So I think it was probably he wanted game time, but I think he just didn't fit into the system that ultimately won Pep the treble. I think it was a bit of ruthlessness coming off back on his couple of seasons as well. It was, get rid, rebuild, and win a treble.
Fair enough.
Fair play.
And talking about this man, obviously come off. You can rest him. He comes off the bench and still scores. Is it just unstoppable now? Is City just that type of machine that won't be caught?
I think it will ultimately come down to the Spurs game. That's been our bogey ground. They've been our bogey team. Where Ange's Spurs is our bogey team. That's remained to be seen. Obviously, we had that the draw with them at the Etihad with some dodgy refereeing. We beat them in the FA Cup. So I think it will come down to that. We're facing a Wolves side up until this weekend. They hadn't won a game since the start of March, albeit I know Wolves beat us at Molineux, but again, some dodgy refereeing. I think I wouldn't rule out Fulham because Marco Silva's a shrewd operator, but I think they've dropped off, and then it just comes down to West Ham on the final day of the season, Mark, as whether your boys are going to be fighting for that final Europe spot or not. So for me, it's Tottenham, but we can't be thinking about what Arsenal are doing. We just have to do what City do and just take it one game at a time. That's all we can do.
Yeah, honestly, I can't see. I don't think West Ham will be in it by that point. Honestly, I just think we'll be out of it now. I think it's all over for us. I want this season to be over so bad. I can't stand. It's been horrible. It's been horrible for us. Okay, so just moving on. Did either of you guys see Salah at the weekend in the West Ham game and his stroppiness?
Yeah. Unfortunately, not. So I'll let Joel take the lead on this one.
It was interesting. I think a lot of people are saying that it's like Salah's attitude is wrong, and Klopp's overreacted by him not wanting to give him a hug. But it's just obviously something deep. I think it's obviously started from Salah not starting, for one. I think even if you look at some interviews, Salah comes across as someone that has that arrogance about him as well, that bit of cheekiness about him. So I think now that things aren't going his way, he's starting to bring some things to light. But as I said, I don't know what's going on at Liverpool. You know what? I think when Klopp sort of announced his departure earlier in the season, I don't think he'd do that mid-season. I just would not do that mid-season. It can go one way or it can go the other, and it's obviously had a detrimental effect to their title charge. They probably would have got over the line. But it's just, even Van Dijk's interview, he sort of hinted that he could possibly leave. You don't want your players doing that. You don't want your senior men doing that in a title running like what we're seeing here. So, I think the sooner that Salah's out, and then I think we're just going to see a better Liverpool side. To be honest, yes, he gets goals. Yes, he has a big impact. But for me, sometimes when that star man's not in there, it forces the team to play for each other and not sort of be over reliant on one man. Seeing it with Spurs as well. To be fair, I think Spurs. I said it earlier in the last podcast. I think Spurs look strong. I think they've got something to build on. They dominated us for the entirety of the game, and I think we'll see the same with Liverpool if they get the right manager.
I will come in on the back of what Joel said about that Klopp. That Klopp announcement. Yeah, I agree with Joel. It was a very weird time to do it, especially that crunch point after Christmas where you've still got the FA Cup games, League Cup, and Europe and Premier League games on top of that. But no, I need to think him coming out and doing that. I thought the language that he used was very strange, saying he's running out of energy. It's like, is that what you want, like, your manager to be saying at the business end of the season, going, "Well, lads, I'm shattered. I've got to pack it in now." If he said that at the end of the season, all said and done, great, we'd understand. But to say it halfway through a campaign, it doesn't set you up. I remember watching a recent podcast of Rio Ferdinand, and Rio said when David Moyes first went to United and they were doing a tour of Southeast Asia, and Moyes got on the plane and he was that tired because of the situation. He looked at Ferdinand and said, "Oh, this is a massive club, isn't it?" And you're thinking, well, if you're already showing to the players that you're already defeated, I think Klopp's done that as well. But I mean, City did something very similar with Pellegrini his final season. We announced Pep in the January time, and it completely ruined Pellegrini's final season. So would say that I think that would be the decider for Liverpool. Really, I think it's absolutely curtailed their efforts, because I think I said on your podcast a couple of weeks ago, Mark, that Klopp has that mentality just to grab people by the scruff of the neck and just drag them over the line, and I think the players that haven't really bought into that this time, especially with what you said in January.
Could I just say something? To me as well, I know it could be completely way off, but Klopp doesn't look well to me. He genuinely does look tired, and it's just weird that someone that has such a reputation for being so aggressive, I guess, in the way that he coaches, in what he demands from the team, he doesn't look well. He doesn't look like a man that's healthy. So whether that is just genuine tiredness or it could be something else, I just think it's so random how it's all happened anyway. It'll be interesting to see what really comes out at the end of the season as well.
I think it all goes into the fact that Michael Edwards is coming back, and I think with Michael Edwards and his team coming back into the club, I think Klopp is losing his power hold of that dressing room as a club. So I think he's probably seen the writing on the wall, and I don't think it's probably the way he wants it to end either.
Yeah, fair enough. I know obviously Salah got the hump, Johnny. I think he was substituted on the 79th minute, and from what I've read today, he wasn't prepared to come on, or he was really slow, like he just didn't want to, like he's getting slow, getting his boots on and everything else, and then Klopp had the hump with him. So yeah, but it's definitely, I think if Liverpool lose Salah, and interesting enough, I know he's 31, and I think there was a Saudi bid for him 150 million last year, and he's only got a year left on his contract. So I don't think a Premier League club would pay anywhere near that.
No,
but he's definitely got enough in him to go elsewhere, like a Tottenham. Maybe even an Arsenal, Joel. Would you take Salah at Arsenal?
Not a chance. Not a chance. Not in build-up. Not for me. Final third, yep, give it to Salah, no problem. Build-up, nah, it's not for me. He wouldn't suit us at all. No way.
Sitting on the fence there. Okay, fair enough, mate. Fair enough. Okay, so I mean, talking on the managers, talking to Klopp. Now, Klopp for me, he's one of the last. He's just got a bit about him, and Joe, I agree. I think his energy levels dropped. He's not quite as animated and smiley, and you don't really see the teeth as much now. But like, I grew up in an era with. I'm older than you boys, but I grew up in an era with the likes of not Brian Clough, but the likes of Harry Redknapp, Dave Bassett, Neil Warnock, John Sitton, even. Like football managers that just spoke their mind, Ian Holloway, like nutters, to be honest. Are all managers now, like manager interviews now, are they even worth watching? Has it just got so boring?
I think where it's gone for me, there's no rivalries on the touchline anymore. Do you remember, even a couple of years ago, you had Conte and Tuchel going at it, Wenger and Mourinho, Rafa and Fergie. It added something to the game. And I think that's when people talk about the Pep and Klopp rivalry, the football is great, and obviously Pep's had his moments on the touchline and stuff, but there's never really been that nitty gritty. Let's go at each other. I think, like even with Mancini, when in Mancini's couple of years at City, if Mancini went after Fergie, he just went right. I'm just going to have you, and let's just have it out on the touchline. I think it's very PR driven now, and we don't want to upset the Premier League or get fined.
Scared of the fine. That's what I'm thinking. Scared of the fine. That's all it is.
It's all media conscious, and at the end of the day, it is a sport, but it's also an entertainment factor as well. And I'm sure we've all worked in workplaces where you've had a boring boss. It's better to have an entertaining boss in a stressful environment than a peaceful environment and somebody boring. So I think they're very much being run by the PR and media teams at the moment.
Agreed.
Yeah, I think today's the anniversary of the Kevin Keegan rant.
Really?
Against Fergie, yeah. So kind of what prompted that. So I think even that, I think actually Ferguson, when you think about it as well, you mentioned the bust ups there and with Wenger and others. He's just that kind of manager that gets under people's skins. Fergie, he was really good at just winding people up at the right moments.
And I think that's what made that the Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi era of La Liga. But it was Pep versus Mourinho as well. There's so many different layers to it. And I think it's just a bog standard, go get beat, draw, lose, and go home, shake hands, and that's it.
Yeah. Can you see any rivalry? I like Arteta for me he's too intense, he's too boring. Like when he comes on, I kind of switch off. I think the same with Pep as well. I think neither of them have really got any banter about them. But even lower down, you think there's not really any managers that you think I might say something controversial here. I just think that's gone.
Marco Silva used to be very feisty in his Hull and Everton days, and that seems to have gone. I don't know whether that's because he took a bit of an ego bash from his Everton job and whatever, and he's had to rebrand himself. But even Poch used to be good for a soundbite and a bit of touchline antics. So Chetwick class Chelsea's down the bottom, but that's for the argument.
Yeah. Well, in fact, I may take that back slightly because there's one manager I think I could watch, but that's more just for the banter, which is this man. Because I think everything he says is absolute bollocks. I mean, he really is talking balls. This
talking balls, yeah, no.
Is he the first to be sacked, do you think?
I
think. Sorry, go on, John.
From being from that part of town, I speak to United fans who want to give him a chance, and others should get out the door. I just look at him on the touchline, and again, it goes back to what you were saying, Mark, about people being a bit stoic and everything like that. But if I was a Man United player, and again, I know we're going back years to Fergie, but I look at him and he just doesn't inspire me. I just think, like, what are you? Like, he is just a damp squid, and I appreciate he is working in a football club and a business that is rotten from the top down. And I know there's going to be a big change with Jim, and it probably hasn't helped in all the stuff you went through with Ronaldo and Sancho and now Rashford. The man must be absolutely shattered, but at the same time, I just don't think he's the man to be the right man to be in that environment.
And Mason Greenwood, he had that as well.
Sorry, about that.
He has been tough. He's had a tough ride, to be fair.
But no, I don't think he's the man to take this United rebuild. Well, United have been rebuilding for 10, 11 years now, but I think with Jim Radcliffe coming in and everything, I don't think he's the right person to be at the helm now.
Yeah, I think footballing wise, I think he's all over the place. I can see what he wants to do and what he wants to try to do. But I think we see here. Let's look at Man City and Arsenal, the two teams that control games, and I think he's a coach that can't get his team to control games. He said it himself, basically, that his team is entirely based on transition. That's too much chaos. You don't want that much chaos when you want to try and win a game. It just leaves you susceptible. So some of the things that he does is bizarre, to be honest. And just the interviews that he gives, it's just, as he said, it's just not inspiring. It just feels very generic in the way that he does things. But from his talent ID to the football that his teams play, it's just, yeah, if I was a Man U fan, it was just a bit depressing, to be honest with you. But
I think it is that mentality. So I mean, I don't need to be disingenuous to Coventry here, because that game was absolutely brilliant. Like, fair play for them to have the mentality to come back. But then, does he not question Ten Hag and Manchester United's mentality that with 13 minutes to go, you're 3-0 up, you should be absolutely cruising, and you managed to absolutely
100%.
throw it down the drain in that space of time? I know, again, that's the beauty of football, but does it not speak to how they should be managing games and how the players should be managing the games in those last few moments? I think you mentioned it, fair, Mark. I was looking at the league table, and I can't see Chrissy Wilder, Vincent Kompany, or Rob Edwards, or if not, so I can't see Nuno being sacked from Forest. I think Nuno's done enough to show that he's warranted a place there. But I mean, does Zerbe, Thomas Frank, Marco? You can't, Marco Silva potentially, but the only one that stands out is United. I would say Moyes, but I think he's where he's in the table is kind of papered over the cracks of your season. So I think he's just got away with it, Moyes.
Isn't it with Moyes? He hasn't signed an. I've seen he hasn't signed an extension.
No, they went to the end of the season, so it's weird. In the newspapers, they're saying Moyes has got a contract on the table, but he's waiting to the end of the season. And then people from inside the club are saying, we haven't got a contract yet, we'll decide at the end of the season. So I think Moyes is trying to save a bit of face. But yeah, if we don't, I don't think we'll get many points from the last 4. So 3, sorry. So I don't think we're gonna do much. So for me, I think he'll go. I bloody hope he goes.
Who would you want in, Mark?
I probably Potter. I'd take Potter over who's the chap, the ex-Wolves one we're linked with. I can't pronounce his name.
Nuno?
No.
The ex-Spain manager?
Yeah, I can't think of his name.
Julian
Lopetegui, yeah. I'd take Potter over him, because I think Potter was one. I think he knows English football better, and I don't think we work well with foreign managers. West Ham, I just don't think East Londoners connect with Pablo from Spain, whoever it is. It just doesn't connect. So
I think he'd throw his toys at the pram anyway. The ex-Spain manager, I'm sure that's what happened when he was at Wolves.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, kicked off.
He go his way and he just jumped ship. You don't want that. And I think, to be fair, it's an interesting project at West Ham. I think if they can get the players, big stadium, good fan base,
just needs the rebuild. It does need a massive rebuild, though. There's so many players there. The entire back 4 needs replacing. The keepers. We need a backup keeper, if nothing else. Ariola's okay, and then we haven't had a striker in about a decade. Although Bowen's scoring for us, we just don't do strikers.
Oh, Bowen's class. Bowen is class. Oh my gosh, yeah. But you let Skamaka go. He's a good player. Shouldn't let him
Haller.
Go. Yeah.
They've gone on to score a lot of goals elsewhere. We just can't get a tune out of them for some reason. But that's because Moyes likes his strikers to play CDM, and that's the problem. So we're never going to sign a good striker if all he's going to do is sitting behind the halfway line when we're attacking. It's ridiculous what he makes them do. So I think he's like, if you're a striker and it's like, West Ham are after you, it's like, no thanks. It's tough. It's a tough sell.
Do you think he'll keep Paqueta this season,
No.
or do you think he's gone?
I think he'll go to City, but you know what? He's not been that great second half of the season. John, would you want him there?
I've not seen enough of him this season to go yes or no. But then, from what I know, lighting the league on fire. But then, I think most people have said that about Matthias Nunes when we signed him from Wolves this season. But towards the back end of the season now, Nunes is really coming to his own. So I think, is he a bad player? No. I think, could Pep do a lot with him? Yeah. But then it's how long does Pep get with him before Pep packs it in? So I don't. To answer your question, I'm not too sure. I wouldn't want to say yes or no.
Do you think Pep's leaving soon? Is that what you think?
Not this season. I think Pep. I think he's got 2 years. I think he's signed to 2026.
Okay.
So I think we'll see what he is in 2 years, and he might time it nicely. He might leave in 2026 and wait for the World Cup and then get an international job. That's where he could go, or he just stays with us until he's had enough. Hopefully, I
can actually see that. To be fair, I feel like he's a manager so full of excitement and it's always wanting to be innovative or be ahead of the pack that I don't think he will want to leave now, or even in 2 years' time. I think he loves it. He loves it. Why?
Depends what happens with the charges as well. Is Pep going to want to play Wycombe Wanderers on a Tuesday night in December? We'll see. I wouldn't want to, but yeah.
Yeah, definitely not. I'm looking at the odds to be sacked. Obviously, Ten Hag is his favourite. Then it's Chris Wilder, David Moyes, Pochettino, Vincent Kompany, and Nuno. Obviously, they're down the bottom. Poch is an interesting one. Obviously, Chelsea, because they're very hit and miss. But do you think he could turn Chelsea around?
I think so. I don't think he's been given enough time, and he's got into an absolute horror show that is Chelsea. Yeah. 50 players and Todd Bowley just going absolutely bonkers. Yeah, I still don't think Potter should have gone from Chelsea. I think he got a rough deal there. But I think Poch will stay for a couple of years unless he just one day wakes up and goes, I've had enough of this absolute madhouse. Let's see.
Yeah. I mean, I'd take Potter at West Ham. So you're right. I don't think he got any real chance to shine there. He's dropped in. I think, but that would be the same. Anyone going in after Klopp and anybody going in after Pep, impossible boots to fill. You can't say no, but then you've got a real tough job on your hands to try and emulate those guys.
I think with Chelsea as well, they've got a lot of young players. I think Thiago Silva's probably the main sort of figure. Pep, maybe Chilwell. Reece James is still young. They've got a very young team. So I think even that element as well, Prem-ready players, you know what I mean? It was just, I think it's difficult in that aspect alone. And we've seen now how important it is when you've got a balanced squad. I think even with us last season, I think Xhaka's probably was the oldest one, the most experienced one. And it shows. So now experience in age and experience is key.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so obviously we did say goodbye to Sheffield United. Thank God, to be honest. I mean, what a boring team. Just, I don't think anybody would miss Sheffield United. Would you agree with that?
I don't think I've watched them unless they played us, to be fair.
I'm making a bold statement. I think they were actually worse than the Derby team that got 11 points. At least that Derby team was entertaining. It had like Paul Jewell just like doing everything and another entertaining manager, Paul Jewell. What an interesting guy. They were so boring and there was no game plan. They just got hammered every week. At least with Burnley and Luton and you throw Forest in there because of the points deduction. At least they actually try and play expansive football and try and entertain.
Living at home.
Yeah, a bit like Ten Hag. I don't understand what Sheffield United are about. It was, yeah.
They don't seem to invest, do they? They've been in the Premier League 5 times. 4 of those 5 times have never had a player hit double figures. They're just such a defensive, big lump type unit. They're just, I don't know what they do. They just come up, they get the money, they bugger off for a few years, come up, I think, oh, we're a bit skinned, come back up. It's just, I find them one of the worst teams ever to grace the Premier League. That's so many Sheffield United fans watching this are going to rip me, but you shit. That's just is what it is. In fact, I looked up while I was looking at that fact. The fun fact is Brian Dean was the first person, who's the only person actually who scored double figures for Sheffield United, first player ever to score in the Premier League. One for the pub quiz.
That's all.
Coming up though, obviously Leicester are up already, and then you've got Leeds and Ipswich on the same points, I think, at the moment. Who do you think is going to be best equipped to come up and not go down?
I've watched a little bit more of Leeds and Ipswich, but I think it'll be tough for me to really say. I haven't watched them that much. I feel like Leicester's probably a cut above the rest, hence why they're going to win it. But I probably would say Leeds. They've experienced it. You know what I mean? You'd have to put your bets with them, really. But no, I haven't watched too much of Ipswich for me to have an opinion.
I think Leicester will be fine. I think they'll stay up. I'm probably going to know his last name, but the manager, Maresca, is one of Pep's old assistants. I think Leicester have got enough quality in the side to. I know obviously it's probably the same players that they got relegated with, but I think that there's enough in there. And I'll agree with Joel on Leeds as well. I think whilst it'd be amazing for Ipswich to come up, bit of variety would be nice. I would just think Leeds, because of the club of the arm, and probably they've got the players. I know Daniel Farke's been in the Prem before, he understands it. And I think, just looking at the Championship table, you've got Ipswich, Southampton, Norwich and West Brom. Out of those four, I'd probably say Southampton would stay up if, out of those. I think Norwich, they're a yo-yo club. West Brom, probably just like another Sheffield United. Ipswich.
They're borderline yo-yo as well, to be fair. West Brom, boring as well, as have been. Yeah. So I'd probably go with Leicester, Leeds and Southampton.
Yeah, I've been watching a bit of the Championship recently, just the running. I don't watch a huge amount, but Ipswich is about 30 minutes from me. So for me, I hope they come up because I've either got Colchester, who almost dropped out of the Football League at the weekend. So at least I might go and see some decent football at Ipswich. But anyway, we move on. Joel, you mentioned this chap earlier, actually, who announced his departure from Chelsea today. Didn't announce his retirement, though. So do you think he'll be going to Saudi or somewhere like that?
I would. One more big contract before the end of your career. Fair play. He deserves it as well. I think he's for the games that he has played, he's been top. I think it really highlights how key anticipation is for a centre back. But he's been a leader. The controversy outside of it, though, with his wife, she needs to give it a rest. But other than that, he's been top. He's been top. Fair play to him, man. He deserves it.
I think it shows a professional that's understood his body and adapted his game the older he's got as well. He hasn't tried to play the same way as he was when he was 25 or 26. I think he understood what he needed to do in the Prem to last as long as he did. I think probably, I know he probably won't go down as a household name. I think Thiago Silva was probably one of the most consummate, professionals in football.
I spoke to a Chelsea fan who said, "Yeah, we're going to miss him. He's a legend." I'm like, "Is he a legend? Is he a legend in the? He's not a legend in the Prem. I don't even think he's a legend."
What has he won? What has he won with them? How can you be
Champions League?
Did he win Champions League with them?
I think so.
Well, first season, I'm not sure. He hasn't done much since, but was he 39 though? To be fair to him, but.
Well, I'm going to Google that.
I think he did win the Champions League against us in Porto in the lockdown.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
I could be wrong though, but I think he has done.
Yeah, he's been there for 3 years. So he may just have scraped in.
Oh yeah, must have done.
I know both his sons at Chelsea. So I did see in his message there that he does want to come back at some point in another role.
Yeah. Pardon me. Yeah, no, he is then. Fair play to him. He didn't feel like he's been there that long.
No, I wouldn't say he's a legend of the Prem though, but I can understand why Chelsea fans would call him a Chelsea legend. But I think that title gets thrown about a bit too loosely.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I think West Ham fans called Antonio a legend. I'm not sure you can call him.
Podcasting legends, man. He's a podcasting legend. That's what he is.
Yeah, it's been all right for us, to be fair. I can't knock him. Okay, so obviously we're coming up to the end of the season as well. So obviously this means we'll be talking about the Ballon d'Or. I'll put 4 players here that probably would be definitely in contention there. It'd be interesting to see if there's, well, out of these 4 actually, who do you think?
For me, it's clear. But go on, John. You go on, tell them.
I wouldn't, even though I'm not going to be biased there, I don't think it's Haaland. Yeah, he's had a great season. He's still bagged the goals, but has he been at the heights he was last year? No. I've watched a lot of Bayern Munich this season, but again, not being disingenuous to the Bundesliga, I think it was great that Harry Kane could score 40 goals. He's not up against the best defences, is he? PSG, I don't watch much the French league, so I can't comment on Mbappe, but I think it has to be Jude Bellingham. Just in your first season to go to Real Madrid as a box-to-box centre midfielder, score 20 goals and just have that impact has been great. Has he been amazing right throughout the season? Everything? No, but I think the impact and at his age as well, I think it would go to Bellingham. It probably won't do though, knowing how the voting system works. But yeah, I'd give it.
I think it will. I think by a landslide as well. I think is because I'm sure they're playing him more as a 10 now at Madrid.
Yeah,
I'm sure. I think literally Southgate's changing the England setup or system because of him as well. He's scoring big goals. He's scored late goals in both Clásicos. Like you said, his impact, the demeanor, the sort of I know that this game's mine. There's not many players like that these days. There just isn't. Breath of fresh air. So I work a lot. Obviously, I do my scouting in the Midlands, and I hear some of the coaches that have coached him before he turned pro. Just all of them say he's a good lad, very honest in his approach. It's not like a facade that you see, and he carries it on the pitch. He's a leader. I think it's nailed on. He's going to be a legend. I'll be honest. I watched him in Sun games a couple of years ago, and I wasn't quite like he looked good, but I was thinking, are you going to go to that next level? And he's just exceeded expectations. I think he's top. I really do.
I think it's the maturity to go into Real Madrid at that age. I'll not be overcome by the situation. He's backing off what Joel said. He's literally just taken the ball by the horns and gone for it. You see him speaking Spanish in interviews as well, trying to integrate himself in the community. So I know the vote isn't based on that, but it should be really. But yeah, I go with Bellingham.
Yeah, I think we'll get it.
And how about I know I haven't seen enough of Job and how big a difference. I know one's at Real Madrid, one's at Sunderland. So, but he's younger, isn't he? I mean, but he doesn't even put Bellingham on the back of his shirt, which I quite like. He's not trying to play off his brother's name or be in that shadow.
Yeah.
Does anyone know what he's actually like? I haven't seen enough of him.
Same, I haven't seen a lot of him. I've heard that he's still a very good player. From what I've heard, he's a very good player, but I think it just shows that Bellingham's like Jude is just I'm not going to say it too early, potentially generational sort of player. But we said that about probably a lot of players in the past, young players, and then they just fall apart, run out of steam. Because a lot of young players are playing so many games these days that it kind of questions what's the peak going to be in this era of football. The amount of yards covered in and out of possession. So it'd be interesting to track him. But as for Job, who knows? But fair play if he's putting his own name on the back of his shirt. No, that screams probably the mentality of his brother as well. So
yeah. Now for me, I know you're both really clear cut on this. I think if Bayern go on to win the Champions League, I think it'll be Kane. So I think this game against the two of them, the Real Madrid Bayern game, I think that could really define who could win the Ballon d'Or.
Yeah, fair point. Fair point. We'll see.
And plus, as well, I think Kane. It's time to give Kane one. He's been classed for so long. It's like a lifetime achievement award. He's been brilliant, but it's just not got close. Okay, if you were to take those out, some other kind of mentions there. Obviously, Haaland's one, but if you look at De Bruyne, Rodri, Declan Rice, Ollie Watkins, have you taken away? Because I know that the Ballon d'Or really favours goal scorers. All of these, obviously, say bang 20, so that always favours it. But special mentions for any of those guys?
I do think Rodri, they're just unreal. Yeah, he's very not as attacking as Jude, but to be the height and size he is, and to impact the game from that sort of position when he's not Pepper's turned him into a natural ball playing centre mid. I don't think he was that at Sevilla, but I would throw Rodri in the mix. De Bruyne, again, I don't. He's not been for me. Kevin's not been at the races this year. He's had a lot of injuries. Obviously, the quality's still been there over time, but I don't think he's shone like the couple of guys on the screen you got there, Matt. But I'd throw Rodri in there.
Declan Rice, Joel. I think that people are not talking about his price tag, which says a lot.
Yeah. Honestly, because that's the first thing. As soon as a bad performance, you look at Anthony. That's all you're hearing. How much does he cost? Now, Rice has been top. To be fair, I think watching him week in, week out. Sorry, you can see that there's still elements of his game that he needs to improve. I think he's very good in the 8 when he's playing more box to box, when he can run down that left side. I think in the next couple of years, I think he's going to be an exceptional player. But out of possession, I don't remember I've seen someone who can chop up the midfield and win back the ball so much. I can't think of it off the top of my head. He's so good at that. His anticipation and his desire to win the ball is top. He's top, man. We've been dying for a midfielder like that for years. Honestly, it's a breath of fresh air to see, man.
Yeah, we enjoyed him. Thanks very much.
Yeah. Cheers.
I would like to throw another name out there. And again, this is not being disingenuous to Newcastle, but if Alexander Isak was in a City or a Real Madrid or a Bayern Munich, would his name be on this list in a couple of years' time?
Or Arsenal. Arsenal.
You don't want another striker.
I'll take Isak. Honestly, I don't care. Give them what they want. Nah, he's top player.
No, it's funny you say that with Rice, just to go back to that for a second, because when he was at West Ham, Arsenal and Tottenham fans were like, oh, shit. No, he does nothing. He doesn't score enough. As soon as he goes to Arsenal fans, he's amazing. He's brilliant. Funny how it changes.
You know what? You see the Conference League final? Because it was Amrabat playing in the 6 for Fiorentina, and then it was Rice on, obviously, for West Ham. Amrabat actually looked better that day. I don't know if you remember, or probably, a bit of bias is creeping, but when I was watching it, for me, I thought Amrabat actually looks like a player. So I wasn't that keen. For me, I was like Caicedo all the way, to be fair. But I'm so glad that it's not me making the decisions, because Rice is unbelievable. Watching him week in, week out. I actually watched. I was at Wolves versus Arsenal. I was in one of the boxes watching and seeing it live. The distance that he covers, so quick to win the ball back. Honestly, man. One of the. I think is he player of the season? Is he player of the season? Who else? Who else would you say?
Well, Ollie Watkins has got to be in with a shout. I think he's had a standout one.
Oh yeah, it's been all right. Played well against us. But that's what it is.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I think he doesn't need to run as much, Rice. I think he just kind of knows where the ball is. He reads it so well.
Absolutely.
Has there been talking about Ballon d'Or? Has there been like a standout young player who's the kind of breakthrough prospect of the Premier League?
Palmer. Surely Palmer or mate. I think Palmer actually. He's been carrying Chelsea. I know, obviously, I don't know how many games he played for City last season, but to come this season and do the things that he's doing, just not even the fact that he's scoring the goals and the assists, when you just watch him in build up and just his technical ability, Saka needs to watch out, honestly. I think as the years go on. I'm serious. He's a player, man. Rate him.
Can we still put Phil Foden in the mix, or is he too old now?
No, behave.
I was just looking at that. I was like, how old is Phil? Phil Foden's 23, and Palmer's 21. Because I thought they were very similar, but Phil Foden's a bit old. I wouldn't put him in the mix anyway. Foden. He needs to do it. He needs to do it for England before I like him more. Not a major fan,
how old? I know probably people disagree with this, but how old is Anthony Gordon? Because I think for what he's been doing at Newcastle this season, he's gone a little bit under the radar.
I think he's hold on, let's have a look. But no, he's been good. I haven't watched Newcastle that much this season, to be fair. I don't actually get to watch a lot of football these days because I'm usually working in football. Anthony Gordon.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, he done really well when he come on
He's
for England.
23. He's 23.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably Palm was the standout young boy.
To be for me.
Yeah,
no.
Well, when you look at those players you just mentioned there. So we're talking about the England midfield being Bellingham, Rice, Foden, with Anthony Gordon, and Mainu. Just in those players, all under 23. That's quite promising, isn't it?
Mm.
You'd like to think so, Mark, but we have a weird,
we've been here before.
Ruining it. It's we seem to get inundated with all this talent and it falls apart.
The big thing is, I don't think we really now have, like Harry Kane hasn't got too many more tournaments in him, and I can't see anyone. Ollie Watkins isn't the same league. Obviously, I don't think there's anyone else coming through striker wise for England that I know of.
Nah, not really. Probably Tony, but Towers Tony now 28. I'm just thinking maybe the next 2-3 years until maybe someone else can come up. How old's Solanke as well? Solanke's in.
Yeah, he's dropped off. Yeah, he's dropped off a cliff though. He hasn't scored for a while. So I think he had a good spell, but Liverpool reject. I don't think he's. I don't think he's going to do anything really.
No.
That's the problem.
Really,
we could go back to what England might do. What Pep did, just play a load of false nines and just rotate all these midfield options just round. Really, it could be one way.
Yeah, nice a shot. Do you think maybe Cole Palmer? I think even Anthony Gordon, I swear he can actually play up front, or he has done it before. Cole Palmer could probably play false nine as well.
Put Rashford up there, give him something to do.
Oh, stuff it with Rashford. I'm done with that kid. Someone said that he was like a Theo Walcott. He's like the new Theo Walcott.
Oh, wow.
Has a potential, has a good season, but doesn't quite, feel his potential. We question why all the time, and has he still got it, but he doesn't actually get there. Could be. I think it's a good shout. Whoever said it, I think it's a good shout, but I don't really rate him. I think the issue with Rashford, I think when you have a young player, because he come in just after a few years after Fergie left. When you're coming in as a young player into an environment where it's constantly being changed, where it's constantly toxic, new coaching teams, I think people overlook how important it is to have a steady development in terms of your coaching and playing styles when it changes all the time. And I think with all of those things combined, I think you've seen a player that has been, I don't want to say neglected, but the system sort of failed him almost. I think Man U's failed him. Because you see sometimes, like last season, you see him in spells, he looks like a really top player. But then you look at him in other spells and then you couple that with what's going on outside the club and the things that he gets himself into. It's a shame for him, I think.
Yeah. We mentioned someone earlier, and I think, again, we're talking young English talents. There's not many. I don't think this could ever happen. But Mason Greenwood, how can he progress? Because he's obviously had bags of talent. I don't think he could ever play in England again in the Premier League. So that means he could never really represent England again. Because I just think there'd be too much uproar. What's going to happen to his career?
Enjoy the sun.
End up in South Korea with Jesse Lingard. I think if Greenwood ever came back to the Premier League or even the Championship, I think whatever club employed him has to look at themselves from a moral standpoint. And I know his girlfriend pulled the charges and everything like that. I'm not a legal expert, but there's enough evidence there to show that he's a bad guy. No matter, I don't care who you are, he's a bad guy. But I think it speaks to the morality of La Liga. Like Getafe fans were celebrating his signing, and it's like, okay, if that's where you want to go and play, go and do it. But yeah, I think he'll either just stay, as Joel said, he'll just enjoy the sun.
Enjoy the sun.
Enjoy the sun. That's it. Get your paycheck. Just go on being a bad guy, and that's it. Because I don't think he wouldn't play for England again. The FA just would not have it. It'd be a PR nightmare.
100%. England as well with the women and how popular they are. Yeah, silly decision.
Yeah,
always been a player. Always.
Cool. Okay, last one here. I don't know if you guys have heard about the MLS rule changes that come into effect next week. That blank's a no. So I just kind of go through this, but I was wondering actually if this could work in the Premier League. So the new rules are that if an injured player remains on the ground for 15 seconds or more, they have to remain off the field for at least 2 minutes.
No.
Tackle time wasting. And the other one is if a substitute takes more than 10 seconds to leave the field, the new player can't come on for a minute. This is to try and clamp down on time wasting, so you don't have people staying down for too long. Could it work in the Prem?
VAR's not working in the Prem, so I don't know how this is going to work.
Yeah,
I mean, absolute riots. No, I mean, I get why they're doing it because this faking injury nonsense, it winds me up, because I do appreciate the refs have a difficult job. How are you meant to differentiate who's hurt and who's just doing it because they're being caught on the break? I think there are other ways to tackle it. I mean, I think, could you use VAR just to look back if someone's time wasted and book them that way? But no, I don't think this would go down well. I mean, try it in the League Cup, maybe, just to see what happens. But yeah, just give it a run out, but not in the Prem. No, I think it'd be disastrous.
No, I think there's too many things that we need to get right as it is to then be introducing silly rules like that, and that sounds like a very American thing to do. So we'll just let them do let them stick to it.
We can't even get the added time on rules that we've enforced this season, right? And I've been watching the MLS because Messi's there, and the standard of football over there is abysmal. Not to be rude, but it is. So I think let them do this. But as Joel said, I think we need to get the basics of like refereeing correct, and how much extra time we add on, and all that, and what is a foul and what isn't a foul, what constitutes a booking. I think there's too much starting all this in.
Yeah. Do you guys remember the old MLS penalty rules?
Yeah,
from the away line. I mean, that was hilarious. That was brilliant. Okay, I'll ask a question. If you could change one rule in football at the moment, what would that be? I'll give you a bit of thinking time. I'll come up with 3 myself, which I think could work. You can shoot me down, boys. Don't worry about it. So I would introduce the VAR. For me is used too often. So introduce a VAR challenge like they have in tennis. So each team gets 2 VAR challenges, and just cut down on constant stoppages.
Yeah, I agree. I think I said on last show was on Mark, but have it like a cricket review system where if you think that there's something gone against your team, you have a certain number of reviews per half, and the captain or the manager can go, we want to review it. And if you don't ask to review it in a certain amount of time, that's your review. That's your review gone. I think my main one is this stupid offside flag rule. If the linesman knows it's offside, flag it. Yeah. Don't wait for this period of, because I think it happened to Edison in the Newcastle game at St James's Park earlier on the season. The linesman didn't flag. Walker put a challenge in, and he went right through Edison's chest, and Edison had to go off injured. If the linesman had flagged, it would never have happened. So that's my biggest bugbear, I think.
I probably agree. I think the yellow card rule, when you're asking for a yellow card, automatically grants a yellow card. I think it's too subjective as to what is asking, and it's not consistent as well. If you ask for a red card, then what? I think I can't remember what game it was, but a player actually asked for a yellow card and didn't get booked. So then how can you it just doesn't make sense to me. It's just too many silly rules, and we're just not getting the basics right.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, my leading on to your one, John, I guess, regarding offside. For me, I think it should be off the toe, on not the shoulder, because if you're a striker leaning in, the amount of times that striker's gone to go, and it's off the top of the sleeve, whatever it is, just do it off the toe. Just an easier rule.
But I kind of disagree. If you can play with your shoulder, then surely you have to use that as well. I understand your point. But if you can score with your shoulder, because you can, then it has to be used as an offside as well.
I haven't seen many goals scored with shoulders though.
Mario Balotelli against Norwich.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, that one, yeah.
I love him. Nutter. Okay, my last one is my last rule. And bear with me and don't read too much into it when I say this one, okay? But scrap the rule for taking off your shirt when scoring a goal.
Yeah, agreed.
I don't understand, because at the end of the
Passion.
game, they take their shirt off and go and give it to a fan. Like you're booking them for that. So what? I don't know. I don't get the rule. It doesn't waste much time, does it, when they run around with their shirt off?
No.
Nah.
I never understood that one.
Agreed.
I think the other one I would change is the handball rule, because the laws of physics and weight and speed, everything have to come into it. I think if you've jumped and your arm is up there and you're not going for the ball at all and it hits your hand, you can't do much about that, can you? Remember what happened to Jack Grealish last season, the FA Cup final? He still won, so done much right. But he's got up to jump for the ball. His body weight and everything, his limbs have gone up with him. How can you be in control of everything and you've got to judge the flight of the ball? I think it's if it's not malicious. I mean, they get into facts of how do you judge how malicious it is and if people mean it. But I think that needs to be reviewed as well. I think it's how many daft decisions we see in this season where it's hit somebody's hand and the defender or whoever's not had an absolute, not seen it at all.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Well, look, chaps, thank you very much for staying with us tonight. I know we've had a bit of a different format, but it's been great to talk about some different topics in football. But I'll let you enjoy the rest of your evening. So thanks very much for your time.
Thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate it.
Cheers, Matt. Thank you. See you, Joel. Bye.
Take care.
Cheers, mate. So that's it for Talking Balls this week. Thank you very much for joining us. Join us back here next Monday, and we'll be talking more 8 o'clock next week.